Hello, everybody.
So now we have Rebekah Fisher, and she's going to be talking about hypnotherapy and childbirth. I admit I haven't had any kids. It terrifies me. It's one of my phobias. I'm one of these people that I see the pregnant mannequins in the store and I'm like, ah, what is that? So honestly, I credit everybody that's a mum or looks after kids. Like, you guys are fucking amazing. Okay. So I'm going to let Rebekah take it away. And she has requested that you ask questions during her talk. So if you've got any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask her, because she's fantastic. All right, Rebekah, take it away. I've got to help the next speaker with some tech stuff. So I will return. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so what I'll start with is sharing my screen. Now, hang on a minute. I did it in practice. Why isn't it working now? Hang on.
Down the bottom, do you have a share screen button?
Where's my share screen? Hang on, I'll go full. What's in this meeting? Where's my share screen?
Should be down the bottom of the Zoom session.
All right, let me go to the big screen. Oh, there we go. That's why.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Trish. I'm not very technical, people.
Nailed it.
I'm really not technical. So I'm really good at talking. I can talk till the cows come home, but doing this sort of thing is I'm learning. Okay. So I'm going to just minimize that as well so that I can actually see my slides. Thank you for persevering. So I have a business and it's been running for about 18 years called Creative Birth, and it's about creating the birth you desire. And I've worked with, hundreds and hundreds of couples, and I've also attended 150 births. So a bit of background about me, and that is me in the photo there. how old was I? About 27 years old, and that was actually my third child. I had my first child when I was 21. So a bit of background: I have 4 amazing, beautiful children who are now all adult children, but they really, really inspired a lot of the work that I do. I started studying Eastern mysticism, meditation, and mindfulness before it became trendy, all the way back in 1989. And I studied that intensively for about 13 years. And it gave me a really good grounding for meditation and connecting to myself and my wisdom and being grounded and learning how to be still and go within. I then became a doula in 2003. And at the time, my youngest was about 3 years old. And then I also studied and became a childbirth educator, 2004, 2005. And then I studied what we called at the time hypnodoula. So, and that was my introduction to hypnotherapy. So I came to hypnotherapy through childbirth. And then through childbirth, because a lot of my clients were like, you made me so calm and I didn't feel anxious. And can you help my partner with their work stress? Can you help my daughter with a HSC? Can you help, So I was getting asked by my clients for, to help them with general anxiety and fears. So then I just studied and did kind of your general basic hypnosis certification training for that. I then also studied as a prenatal teacher because I really wanted to get into the body and work with the breath and the body, because that had been my personal experience. And just overall, over the last 20 years, I've been a coach, psychic medium, energy healer, spiritual teacher, mentor, and a doula mentor as well. So that's just a little bit about me. So I'm a little bit woo. Now, this really, when I first saw this quote in my doula training, now for those that don't know what a doula is a woman, or it can be a man, but 99.9% are women, who support couples through the childbirth process. So you're there, you're there to help them prepare before. A lot of doulas just do 2 visits before and then attend and provide the, emotional, physical, spiritual support during the birth. And then they do 2 follow-up visits afterwards. What I was finding, and based on my own 4 natural births, is that really wasn't enough. And so I began seeing women, and this is before I was doing hypnosis, just doing visualization and relaxation processes, which had helped me through my labors. So, this really inspired me, this quote by Susan Arms, who's a well-known childbirth educator. And this is just it for me. If we hope to create a non-violent world where respect and kindness replace fear and hatred, we must begin with how we treat each other at the beginning of life. For that is where our deepest patterns are set. And from these roots grow fear and alienation, or love and trust. So many of you are already working with clients with shifting patterns and belief systems. So, for me, this is so important. And a little bit of background about my story, and other than what inspired my 4 natural births, was that my mother's first birth, so the baby before me, was actually a stillborn. So that created, and my mother was very young, she was only 18 years old at the time. So that created an incredible amount of trauma for my mum. And it also inhibited her capacity to bond with me, her second born. A lot of people have said, and I've done therapy for that as well, to heal my abandonment and my attachment issues, et cetera, as I'm sure a lot of you have done as well. This sense of where the miracle of life was so clouded by this sense of death. And when I first became pregnant, I had that. I was like, okay, I don't want to repeat. And I was 20 when I got pregnant, but I was really centered and grounded and resolved in that I did not want to repeat my mother's patterns, and I didn't want to birth with the fear that my mother had. So what was really, really important for me was to find a way where I could feel empowered and grounded, and to be able to not control, but to have the skills, the resources, and the knowledge, the wisdom to deal with whatever the outcome was. And that for me really included that the potential that I could give birth to a baby that wasn't breathing. So, it was a lot for a 20-year-old to take on, and I did. And in that, I actually found, and there was nothing about hypnotherapy, nothing about hypnobirthing at the time. And a friend of my husband at the time, she was a yoga teacher and a homeopath, and she gave me a book called Active Birth by Janet Velasquez. And from 4 months, I did all the exercises. And because I'd been meditating for 2 years, twice a day, I was really attuned to this, going in and relaxing and following my breath and going inside and connecting to that happy place, or the safe place within, or the wise one within, So I was already attuned to that. And that's really what helped me birth really, really well. And one day, whilst I was in a really, I'd been in meditation and in this light trance for about an hour, I really faced that fear. I was like, well, all right, how, because my mother really lost it, understandably so, after she lost the baby. And then, 7 births after that, she would always freeze at the point where she had to push the baby out, so to speak. She couldn't do it and needed help because she couldn't get past that fear of giving birth again to a baby that wasn't breathing and all the trauma that went with that. So I was sitting there, and this is probably about 6 months, and now I understand it was also quite a vision as such, but I'm to get through my fear, and this is the thing which I feel is also really important, because a lot of hypnotherapy and a lot of systems with birth in a way want to avoid this sense of pain and everything. It's like the toxic culture of positive. So, and I just knew that I had to face this big thing called death. So there I was, and all I saw in my mind's eye after being in this trance was that I was holding my baby, regardless of how it came out of my body at that point in time, in my arms, and I was calm and confident and relaxed, and I was equipped with the tools to deal with whatever I had to deal with. And that image, so 30 years ago is it really, that experience really taught me a lot. And what now, when I'm working with women and I get them to feel and sense and visualize and imagine what it's like to hold their baby regardless, in their arms, feeling calm and confident, and that capacity to trust in their body's ability to birth their babies. So it was really quite powerful. And the birthing, we understand that birth is such an imprint, okay? And often, the way that a woman births, again, if the birthing experience isn't so positive, or she feels disappointed, or she feels like she's failed, it can inhibit her capacity to bond with her baby. It also can put a lot of pressure on the marriage or the partnership as well, if she feels like her partner has not supported her. So, hypnobirthing provides a lot of, it's a positive path and a positive way and method to empower a woman to trust in herself and her body and her baby. So this is me many, many years ago, and this is the beautiful Paula, who I was a doula. So I've not only got the experience in terms of through hypnotherapy, but I've actively supported women through birth. So I've got 18 years of that experience as well. Also on the ground running, I've had clients that have used Marie Mongan method and this method and that method and all sorts of methods. So I've been able to really, in a way, step back and have a look at what really works in birth and what really works from a hypnotherapy point of view as well. So birth is a natural process that can be embraced consciously with love and tremendous courage. Hypnotherapy empowers women and their partners to trust in their bodies. Okay. So, and I wanted to fill this with images, these positive images here today about giving birth. Not all the medicalized, like you see on TV and she's all moaning and there's all this drama. Birth does not have to be dramatic, okay? It really doesn't have to be dramatic. Now, fear, tension, and resistance are a normal response when we feel out of control, okay, or we're not sure. So, that is a human response in many situations. Yet, we know that relaxing and trusting our bodies can help manage that, pain, okay, or as in some of the hypnobirthing, you know, they don't want to mention pain. They don't even want to use the word contractions. They'll use more positive language, and it's great, you know, because you can in the scripts replace any sense of contraction. Anytime you hear the word contraction, you will immediately translate that into surges or waves or intensity, you know. So there's a whole language that you can use to create, you know, again, a more positive experience or a more empowering experience, to help navigate this thing called childbirth. So with hypnotherapy, and the same goes for having a doula or really good emotional support, is that it actually reduces the need for drugs. Okay, it reduces the need for an epidural, it reduces the need for gas, it reduces the need for, now they don't use pethidine, they use morphine. Morphine is awful. You really lose your women. You know, they're really not able to focus. They really feel a loss of control. Then they feel like birth is something that's happening to them. It's not something that, you know, they feel like they're doing it, and they're actively participating in the process. So it is, I feel, in working with birth for the last, well, it's a long time actually, well, 30 years from my own 4 births, it's important to realize that pain and stress, they are a normal part of labor. And it kind of keeps things on track. The contractions or surges, we need to acknowledge this. They do cause stress on a woman and a baby's body, which is why it's so vital to relax. So what we're trying to do is to, you know, reduce that fear, flight, and also the freeze response, which can happen in labor through visualization, through progressive relaxation, through placing anchors in, you know, so things like, you know, you can empower the partner. You teach them, I've got scripts for the partners where, you know, and they're reading this to their partner in their preparation, and it's, you know, every time the partner places his or her hand on her cheek or her shoulder, you will relax deeper. You will go more and more and more into your, you know, into your wise woman within, or that safe place within. And so therefore, you know, on the day itself, every time the partner is touching, you know, your client will automatically go into a deeper state of relaxation, and therefore bypassing those very real feelings for some women of, I can't do this, I'm overwhelmed, I'm really scared, what's happening to me, you know, is my baby safe, is my, you know, I can't do this. So, you know, what I find so wonderful about the hypnotherapy scripts is that it really empowers the partners and the birth support team with this incredible language, and, you know, and that also helps to empower them to know exactly how to support their partner through labor. And then they're actually working together, which again, you're creating not only a maternal bond with the baby, it's a paternal bond with the baby, and then it's a, you know, the family it's a bonded unit. And how powerful is that, to begin life feeling connected and aligned? It's just such a gift that you can give to your clients. You know, and many women want to give birth naturally, instinctively, and drug-free. But to be honest, there's nowhere to go except through the pain to be able to achieve that. And it's very natural for us as human beings to seek pleasure and avoid pain. It's you know, essential to our survival to avoid or fix pain that's life-threatening. And this is what keeps getting reinforced by all of these, you know, Hollywood movies and bad, you know, these stories about birth, that all the drama and, you know, it's negative birth stories are reinforced time and time again. which makes the kind of normal labor pain something to be feared rather than it's something to be embraced. And again, you know, when the surges first happen, it's like, I remember being so excited. I was like, yay, I finally get to meet my baby. This is amazing. And not once in my 4 labors did I look at a clock, did I even think about wanting a drug or any drug. I just knew and trusted that I can do this, and worked with my baby and the belief in my body, and birthed my babies very easily. I was very blessed to be able to deliver 2 of my babies myself. You know, and my last one in the water. So, and just being in the water, one, in a way, subconsciously, it takes you back into your own birth. And this is something that I feel is really important to acknowledge as a hypnotherapist when you're preparing women for birth, that sometimes you're actually healing your partner's birth story, your client's birth story. Sometimes you're also, if you're working with the partner, healing their birth story so that they can create that space for healing and for connection and for trust. And often getting in the water, we just we just go into that womb space. So quite often you are actually healing your own birth, as well as, you know, welcoming your baby and creating the space for them to birth naturally and easily. And you know, feeling really good. So now another one of my gurus was Sheila Kissinger, who was a social anthropologist who studied birth. And I got to meet her. I absolutely cried when I met her. She was amazing. And one of the things she used to tell us all is that whatever techniques or breathing techniques you are teaching as an educator, that you are teaching your clients life skills. So, and one of the, you know, learning how to breathe. And again, you know, there are so many techniques around breath I can teach you. And I do teach, you know, this in a mentor program that's 5 weeks, you know, but so I won't go into the depth of that right now. And I've worked with yoga, you know, yoga people. I've worked with therapists. I've worked with all sorts of people. And at the end of the day, you just have to breathe rather than holding on to your breath, which a lot of women do. So, and that sense of when we release the breath, we automatically relax and we start to let go. So I love this quote, you know, labor pain, like all other pain, is a function of the whole person. And we can go even further than that and say that the experience of pain in labor is profoundly influenced by the values of the society in which the women grew up. And this is the thing, this is so important, that often when I'm working with women, I'm having to clear all of these stories and the narrative around the collective experience of what childbirth was like. And we also have to remember that at a cellular level, we do carry these memories, you know, and our ancestors' memories. So, and this is why hypnotherapy is so powerful, because it will change the narrative. It provides the platform for self-belief. It provides that platform to create something incredibly amazing for your clients. And, you know, to break the generational trauma, to break that cycle of pain, really. So a labouring, and this is the other thing to really, when you're working with women, you have to believe in that every single woman has instincts, right? And they have this, we've all got it. We don't always trust in it. And this is why hypnotherapy is powerful for childbirth, to help her trust. But we have instincts to, you know, a labouring woman has instincts to guide her through the birthing process. If she can tune into her body, she will discover what she needs to do to speed up the birth and ease the pain. So for instance, I remember with Claire, my first, I was 21, and just as I was hitting I felt that shift from pre-labor, which is the beginning of labor. Cervix is softening and ripening. It's like the 0 to 4 kind of dilation. You've got to be up to 10 centimeters to be so-called dilated. You've all got the stages of labor in the workbook that I gave you, as well as a couple of scripts, so that you can really understand the process of labor when you're working with women. And I just remember that, you know, and I didn't necessarily feel pain, right? I never felt pain. I just knew, because I'd, you know, from 4 months every day, I meditated and did breathing and did postures and tuned into my baby and just went, right, you know, I'm going to create a really incredible birth experience. And I did. But so when I hit this point, I was like, oh, okay, I'm coming out of this pre-labor. And it was interesting because in my mind's eye, I was so inside my body, and it was like I heard my daughter say, yeah, which sounds weird, but it's not. I heard my daughter go, Mum, open your hip. So I had to I moved my right leg a little bit and I opened up my hip, and then I felt her drop down more. And in about 20 minutes later, I went into established labor, and then 3.5 hours later, she was born. So, you know, this is what's important about hypnotherapy, that we're really empowering women to go into their instinct. Okay. And I think this is where we have to, there's too much focus on trying to take the pain away. And in my experience, sometimes women are like, well, you know, and all the language in hypnobirthing, and it's wonderful. And you will get women that really go there in terms of, you know, 5-hour births, feeling really relaxed, and they get that really zen birth. But for the average woman, you know, and particularly depending upon the position of the baby, and this is something as well that's really important, the position of the baby. So if you've got a woman that's got a posterior birth, then meaning that the baby's back is on her back, then, you know, it's going to be a longer labor, and she's going to experience pain in her back, which she didn't expect. Right. So, and this is where sometimes, you know, they can be a little bit, oh, this is not what I expected. And then they have that moment, and then they go back into their breathing and go back into their techniques. And then they're able to manage and deal with what was unexpected in their labor. Okay. So, and that's something that's really important to remember as well. It's the position of the baby. Okay. So, and it's so important to keep fostering that. Now, the birthing mother through the process is gradually going to withdraw into herself as labor progresses. And hypnotherapy really, really, I guess, speeds up or really activates that process and empowers that process. So, because when I've worked with women that haven't necessarily done any real visualization, relaxation, or hypnotherapy processes, it takes them a little bit longer to get into that birthing zone and to get into that, I guess, that flow state of trust. So, and she's going to often communicate less and less with, you know, her birth team, and focus all her attention on her body's actions and the baby. The trouble with medicalized or going in, and I'm not here to promote natural or, you know, medical, or, because at the end of the day, it's about what a woman chooses. And if what we have to remember is that, and I see this all the time with birth, there's a big agenda. And some women feel safer at home. Some women feel safer in the hospital. Some women feel safer in the birth center. So it's about it's about supporting that woman in what makes her feel safe and empowered to be able to even give birth to begin with. So it's really, really important. So if you have a tendency to lean towards natural birth and you get a client that wants a cesarean, you might not be the person for them if you're going to judge that, right? Particularly if it's an elective cesarean that they've chosen. I also do work with women and there are a lot of hypnotherapy scripts for hypnotherapy for cesarean as well. So, you know, it is important to understand that you're supporting women's choices here as well. So now hypnosis helps, as we know, eliminate fear. So using hypnosis to prepare for birth as well as throughout labor will help alleviate the anxiety, fear, and tension cycle that creates unnecessary pain. Clients will feel confident in their ability to give birth anywhere in any environment. The deep relaxation it brings promotes the release of endorphins. The anchors you create will help your client to remember her birthing intention and go deeper into her power, the trance state, and trust in the process. So one of the points of difference for me is that I teach women, because I grew up the first 5-6 years of my life were in Papua New Guinea, where women gave birth by the side of the river in the birthing hut, you know. So, and then, you know, come back here and it's all westernized and everything like that. In supporting women, I have had the most incredible births at home. I've had the most incredible births in the labor ward, and I've had the most incredible births, you know, with private obstetricians. The trick there is to, you know, understand that you're working with a team of people and that the team of people that you choose make you feel safe. The unfortunate thing about what happens with women today, and this is where hypnotherapy is so powerful, is that a lot of women today just don't believe or can even know what their bodies can do, much less understand or trust. And this is what I find, that focus is always on the mother, yet your baby, the baby itself, is also working with the mother, with the mother's body. The baby is working so hard as well to birth. You know, and I find the way, you know, this is the way that I teach hypnotherapy, to really, really start to tune in to not only the body, but the baby. And when a woman is trusting in her body and trusting in that her baby is also working with her, there is no fear in that room. There is no anxiety. There is no screaming, there's no hysteria, there's no, you know, losing it, there's no loss of control. The women just, even when it gets a bit intense, it's like, oh, that was a bit, you know, and then they're able to move through that very easily because they're in this state of trust. And it's so powerful. Yet if a woman is quite scared, you know, she's going to question. She's often, you know, or she's not got a real grip on her breathing yet, or she gets triggered by something. And this comes back to this lack of trust in her body and that willingness, because birth is often viewed from, you know, people go and they see their obstetrician, they go to the midwife, and all of a sudden they become a patient. Yet with pregnancy, unless there are risks, for the majority of women, you are not a patient. You are just a pregnant woman, right? You are a healthy, magnificent, powerful woman who has an incredible capacity to give birth, right? You can do this, and that's something we've got to really instill in our clients. Otherwise, you know, and I do see this, the woman will automatically on the day suddenly surrender her power, surrender her authority to the obstetrician, to the midwife, or to her partner that's stressing out, you know. And these are the things that these are a lot of the issues, and this is what creates a lot of the trauma in birth, right? Because they let someone take over, they let someone tell them what to do. I remember in my second labor, my son decided to come 5 weeks early. I knew. I had a birth centre birth at King George V in Sydney when they had the big spa in the middle of the room. It was fantastic. And that's another thing. I really feel that all birthing pools should be where you can really stand up in the water. But anyway, that's another discussion for another time. Women will be birthing so easily if we could just do that. And anyway, so, you know, I was 23 at the time, and I had to go up to the labour ward, and I was like, okay, you know, don't really want to do this. Off I went. I got to hospital. I did let them do an examination. I was 9 centimeters dilated, and they still wanted me to get up on the bed. They wanted to monitor, they wanted to, you know, put the monitor on. And at 23, I just asserted myself, and I went, no, I'm not getting up on that bed. I do not need to be continuously monitored. I would like mats on the floor, and I want a beanbag. I wanted a natural birth. And if I get on that bed, I'm not pushing this baby out of my vagina. And, you know, and they had to change midwives and everything like that. And it was very interesting because that was the only birth I had in the labour ward. But in being able to, you know, I did not give them permission. I did not give them authority. I knew that I was about to birth my baby. And I also knew they weren't totally on board with me and felt threatened and intimidated. And it created a lot of stress for my husband at the time. And what I did, which is now, you know, what I guess hypnotherapy gave me the language for, is I created a shield of protection. I blocked them out. I even blanked out my husband. And, you know, and I went within and I sat with the soul of my child, and I was like, hey, Harry, what's going on? You know, what are you feeling? Are you okay? Because he was a bit stressed out at suddenly all of this activity when we'd come out of the comfort and safety of home. And so I blocked them all out, and then he settled, and, you know, within an hour, I delivered him myself in my, you know, put my hands down, guided him out, pulled him up, put him on my chest. It was all good. You know, so, and a lot of women, this is where hypnotherapy can empower women, because at that point I could have made a different choice. I could have, you know, chosen to buy into their fear, not mine, because I didn't have fear. But I could have chosen. And a lot of women and pregnant women are quite open. You are so psychically, spiritually open, you know. You are so connected. The opportunity and the potential to tune into source is so powerful. And you're, you know, again, from a spiritual perspective, the Kundalini can rise. You can feel at one with all the women that have birthed before you. You can meet the soul of your child. There is so many profound, you know, amazing mystical experiences that happen to a woman when she's given the space to labor naturally. So yeah, it's I could just go on and on and on about that. So it's really, again, hypnotherapy for childbirth is so powerful. So here's another little quote. So here we go. So she's nice and relaxed. Her body is working really, really hard, but she's nice and relaxed. Okay. And this is it. Hypnotherapy will empower the partners, okay, to trust in what's happening as well. And if your partner is trusting in you, oh my God, it's just amazing. And I love it when the birthing partners are in a state of trust. And I love watching men fall in love with their wives or their partners all over again. It is just so divine. So there is a power that comes from women when they give birth. They don't ask for it. It simply invades them. And it's true that life force takes over you, and hypnotherapy teaches you how to surrender it and go with it. It accumulates, and I love this quote, it accumulates like clouds on the horizon and passes through, carrying the child with it. And here we go. Some more amazing moments in birth. So again, the benefits of hypnotherapy are it reduces the need for unnecessary intervention. It empowers a woman to birth anywhere. It reduces the fight, flight, or freeze response, which in turn reduces what we hear all the time, failure to progress. It relaxes the birthing muscles. It reduces the duration of labor. It enhances parental bonding. It creates a relaxed, calm, calm and confident parents, facilitates the birth zone and the trance state, and it promotes self-confidence, and it heals birth trauma. So, does anyone have any questions? That's just the tip of the iceberg with birth. It's the tip of the iceberg.
So if you have any questions, please raise your hand, unmute yourself, chat in the chat box. So Tricia has a question.
How many sessions do you normally give for a birthing mother?
I've lost you. Okay, so a minimum 6 I would give, most definitely. And the thing with hypnotherapy for childbirth, it's because this is big, right? Like it's big. So you're not going to do it in 2 sessions. And a lot of people teach hypnobirthing over a weekend. What you're not going to get the benefit of is this progressive relaxation, more and more and more, and a deepening. So we've got to remember labor can go anywhere from 5 hours to 30 hours, right? And I mean, at one point, the American Board of Hypnotherapy actually recommended 11 sessions, right? 11 sessions. So now, and also, it also depends upon your discretion around what trauma there is in your client's history and regarding her own birth story. Because that's what's imprinted in it. That's what's imprinted in the woman, right? And for me, when I look back and go, well, why did I get into such a magnificent state? I actually worked from 4 months to 9 months. So I worked for 5 months every day. So, and some of the things with some of the birthing, it's really important. And I do encourage, wherever possible, record the scripts, give them to the woman and the partner to listen to every day and mix up the scripts. So these are some of the things I teach in my mentor course.
You have a block fee?
Pardon?
You do not charge them for every single block. I'm not in Australia, so it's not going to affect you. How much do you normally charge? What would you charge in Australia?
Oh, well, I've got various packages, but I mean, for me, I don't charge enough, really.
So what would be the average?
For me, it's about 1,100, for about 6 weeks. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, some charge, 650. I used to charge when I started 18 years ago, like $400 or $300. I was just so such a birth junkie, really.
Oh, gosh.
You know, and I think what's really important is that we've, you know, for some women, the fear is birthing in the hospital system. It's not actually birthing, you know, their baby. It's their birthing being interfered with, right?
Like a robotic process.
Yeah, you know, that lack of support, which is why hypnotherapy, in that sense of, you know what, we can just go in deeper, block everybody out. If they want to take the blood pressure, sure, here's my hand, but you're not going to go. And because the thing with the medical environment is they talk to them all the time. So they bring them out of the birth zone. Right. So you've got to, rather than fighting it and fighting the system, which a lot of doulas do and all this, and it becomes a real us versus them. And I don't believe in that, because as a whatever it is that I am, I understand that all the energy that's in that birth room gets imprinted on that soul. Right. So we want to create a very healthy, safe environment, one that is, you know, so loving and welcoming and supportive. So that baby is literally born into an environment of love, not fear, right? So this is why, and I know I'm very different, and there are some people in the birth world that don't appreciate this, because I'm not about natural versus medical. I'm about, you know, you can do this. Women give births in tornadoes up trees. Women give births in cars and the freeway. You know, we have to empower them to be able to give birth wherever their baby decides to be born, on the day the baby wants to be born.
I was in India, the same as you were. I was in New Guinea as well, so I could recognize what you were saying.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I smiled when you said it. I thought, yes, I remember that. And I was in India, and the same thing. One woman was walking on the road, and she didn't have anybody with her. A bag, you know, one of these baskets on her head, and she suddenly bent down, left the basket, got a stone, I think it was, talk about the old days.
Yeah.
And she gave birth. And
yes.
It was like, wrapped it up in her. And we were like, our car was not far from her. We went over to help. But there was no water. We didn't know what to do. She just picked up a leaf. So, yes, we do adapt in different countries.
We do.
They don't expect the pain. They do not expect pain.
Yeah, but whatever, and this is sometimes where I get a bit funky with the language, with, you know, in standard hypnotherapy for birth, because a lot of people are like, okay, you know, your cervix is a rose and it's flowering open. That's a wonderful visualization to prep. But often when women are in labor, they're like, quite frankly, fuck off.
That's how I would be.
Or if I hear white mist one more time, like they, you know, it doesn't feel real.
Not reality.
It's not reality. And for myself, when I was birthing, I was like, wow, my uterus is contracting. This is exactly what it's meant to do. So I feel it's really powerful to actually use the language of what's happening in the body and take the fear out of it. We don't have to keep replacing it with something else, right? Because, and that's what I was struggling with all these years, working with these women that are working with all these various techniques. Whereas for me, I'm like, right, you know, and the beautiful thing about hypnotherapy, and I'll stop in a minute because I can talk forever, is that when you're taking a woman through the script, take a moment to direct that as well to the baby, right? The amount of babies that turn to the sound of my voice when they're born is incredible. They know me. And then afterwards, when I get to hold them, you know, months later, they're like, oh, I know you. Where do I know you from? You know, they really know me. and so what you're doing as the hypnotherapist is that you're also guiding the baby. You're telling that little soul, put your head down, head right down, arms by side, tuck your chin under, get in the anterior position. Let's do this, you know. So you're actually empowering the baby as much as you're empowering the mother. And there's, you know, the effects on, because one of my mentors once said, well, Beck, what happens, you know, in the 12 months after you've, you know, worked with women and partners, and what happens as a parent is that they're very calm. And a lot of mothers speak about, they're still in this zone of calm and awe and, you know, wow, you know, for quite a number of weeks, even months after. Because
when babies listen to your voice on a recording, they will actually, I've had mothers who, because I've done that as well, I've given them a recording, and then when the mothers say the babies have heard my voice after birth, when they can't get into sleep, they put my recordings on and babies sleep because they're used to it. It's just what you're saying.
Yeah,
voice.
Exactly. They're calm. So it's really, really, really empowering.
Absolutely beautiful. So Rebekah is actually offering a discount off her training as well. So flip her an email about that. So yeah, so hang on a second. I don't have it. Hang on, give me 2 seconds. I will post it in the chat.
I forgot what I offered.
Creative birth hypnosis training. It's in a package for $770 instead of $2,310.
Yay, there we go.
So we'll hold her to that, everybody. Okay.
Yes, please
We'll hold her hostage to it.
And I love this so much.
So reach out to her if you'd like to do the training. But otherwise from that, we will take a lunch break now. But if you want to join in on Donna Young, she's an Australian medium. And if you would like to have a medium reading whilst you're having your lunch, please join us for that. And we'll just let her take us on a bit of a woo-woo journey. How's that sound? All right, lovelies. I'll catch you over in the next one. So thank you, darling.
Thank you
so much.
See ya.
Bye.